Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ultra MK Podcast, where together we are reversing the narrative. And on today's show, I have a guest joining us who goes by the name PolitiBible on Instagram. And this guy spells it out for us. He literally uses a whiteboard to show us how the New World Order and our government is trying to control every aspect of our life using digital ID and other ways of tracking us. So you're really going to like our next guest. His name is Nathan Charland. And like I said, goes by PolitiBible on Instagram. Stay tuned for more.
That is our obligation, to inform and alert the American people, to make certain that they possess all the facts that they need and understand them as well, the perils, the prospects, the purposes of our program, and the choices that we face.
Hey, what's up, Nathan? How are you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
Doing great, man. Thanks for making some time to join the Ultra MK podcast.
Hey, it's an honor to be invited on the podcast, so thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, on this show, I really just want to introduce the audience to who exactly is PolitiBible and to find out what it was that got you inspired to want to do the research, do the homework to show people what is really happening in the world right now.
Well, for me, it started it started years ago with my wife's prompting. She kept telling me just to start talking online about my political and biblical worldviews, and I kind of brushed it off. I had jobs at the time and didn't want to, rock any boat at the time. And I had gotten laid off, and she kept pushing me to do it. Still didn't, and then I watched Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I had seen I used to work as a TV producer, and I worked with Lara Logan. We did Lara Logan Has No Agenda on Fox Nation, and we did deep dives on the border and the cartel. And as her producer, like I got to go, not that it was a privilege, but I got to watch a lot of these horrendous, evil cartel videos. I mean, awful torture, killing, people getting their hearts ripped out, cartel members taking a bite of it. I mean, just really nasty stuff that was really dark. And I thought I had gotten used to seeing a whole bunch of stuff, but when I saw Charlie get shot, I mean, I had still a visceral reaction from that, and how much it played over and over and over and over again on the socials was amazing that they didn't even take it down with the blood splurting and all of that. And so that gave me such a push to be like, you know what? Screw it all. I'm going to start talking. I'm going to start doing this. And so it was the Monday after that, after his assassination, that I posted my first video, and it was largely about how inspiring he was as a Christian, that he got all these other agnostics and atheists and whatnot to say that, this Sunday I'm going to go to church. I haven't been to church in 15 years. I'm going to go. And it just felt like a great revival to me. So I did my first post on that. And then afterwards, I just started kind of talking about any topic that I thought.
Well, would you mind if I go ahead and share that first post that kind of gained traction for you? I'm actually curious to watch it. I think it's the same post I first saw in my feed that made me want to follow you because you were so passionate. But I do have it queued up. Can we share it with the audience here?
Sure. So there's a post that I did where there's a whole bunch of clips from like Facebook or Instagram of people saying that they were going to church. And then four posts after that, I got really pissed about the whole Trump administration, Kash Patel narrative surrounding the shooting. And that's where I was like, this whole narrative is BS. There's no logic to it whatsoever. That was the post I did, and I was really passionate and pissed off. that was the one that had taken off and went viral overnight and kind of scared me.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, here, I really want to refresh our audience if they didn't catch it back when you first launched it. Let's see if we can share it right now.
I was wrong about Trump and this entire administration. It started with the Epstein files and all the BS that surrounded that. When Trump and his whole team ran on exposing that, Kash Patel, Bongino, were going to expose that if they had the power, and they never did. Pam Bondi saying she had the files on her desk, she saw the videos, nothing. And now the icing on the cake for me is this whole Charlie Kirk assassination narrative. If you believe that crap, if you believe the stuff coming from the feds, if you believe the text messages, you're an idiot, because that whole thing is completely bunk. Has Fed operation cover up written all over it. I'm done. And when you start looking at the videos, when you start analyzing that front wound right here on his neck, that was an exit wound. He was shot from behind. He was not shot from the front. They're covering it up. It's a massive cover up. And I'm done with this whole administration. They're all frauds. Trump is a fraud. Vance is a fraud. He's in bed with Peter Thiel and Palantir, scooping up all of our data for an AI database system that's going to track and follow us every digital step we go. Pam Bondi, she's a fraud. Kash Patel's fraud. Bongino, a fraud. It was my mistake thinking that Trump and this new, young administration would do anything different than they had before. I was already clued in that any other election in my lifetime, presidential election, going back to my childhood, no matter who the candidate was, it was two sides of the same coin. Whoever won, we would have got the same result, right? So you go back, Al Gore would have got the same result. John McCain, same result. John Kerry, same result. Mitt Romney would have got the same result. And Kamala, I guarantee we would have had the same result. It doesn't matter. We got to wake up and realize that, as George Carlin said,
it's a big club and you ain't in it.
It is the elites versus the little people. It's not a left and right issue. Yeah, we can argue about different social and economic things, but when it comes down to it, it is a larger picture of an elite power structure that is subjugating us little people. It was in 2016 or 2015 that I registered as an independent. I left the Republican Party because Trump was the nominee. I figured, the Republicans were such spineless cowards as it was that, they had Trump in there. How pathetic was that? And yeah, I did vote for Trump. It doesn't matter, because either way, we would have had the same result. And so I'm just admitting this now. I'm realizing it, that the truth is right there in our face. This whole narrative is a lie. Everything they're telling us is a lie.
Probably triggered a lot of people. And sorry, I agree with you. I think that, Trump is a man he was elected as an official to do a job. And if he is being influenced by any foreign entity or corporation or anything like that, we need to call people out on it, whether it's President Trump or anybody in his cabinet. So well done, Nathan.
Yeah, well, my mistake. I had known it was kind of like, two sides of the same coin for a bit, although I felt the Republicans were the lesser of two evils. I think I just let myself have a little hope, unfortunately, thinking, that Trump was an outsider. And granted, look, I experienced his first term, and I loved the first 3 years, hated the last year. I think he was awful. I still hold him accountable for the shutdowns. It was March 13th, 2020. Remember it very well, that he was the one who triggered the federal shutdowns, the whole 15 days to slow the spread that never turned out to be 15 days, and it kept going. And I always have been of the opinion that him doing that gave the green light to all the little Democrat tyrant governors across the country to then do what they did for years on end. If he didn't do that initially, I don't think it would have been what we saw. But because he pulled that trigger and then later rolled out the whole vaccine thing, which was just a whole mess in and of itself, I had thought, okay, all right, maybe he was, he was new to the whole politics thing. He got a little railroaded, I again voted for him two other times. I had thought with this second administration, with Kash Patel, who had talked a big game, Bongino talked a big game, Hegseth, this kind of younger generation of leaders that we would have in there, that it would be hopeful to be something different. It would be hopeful to be America first. But man, it did not take long in this first year of this administration to find out that all of that was just BS unto itself. Especially when it came to the whole Epstein files thing. And I'm not one that's like, oh, this is a 4D, 5D chess thing. No, it's all BS. They're hiding and they're protecting pedophiles. There's actual names on there. We will not see arrests or jail time. So, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, they went to prison for trafficking underage girls to nobody, apparently. And so all of those names are going to always remain hidden. And that's on Trump. Sure, it's both the Democrats and the Republicans, but he's in charge now. And then when it came to this whole Charlie Kirk narrative, the whole Kash Patel getting on TV and telling us, yeah, well, the shooter, in order to get up on the roof, he disassembled the rifle. Then he reassembled it with a screwdriver, took a shot. They had the video of the shot. They could have showed us the shot, but they never do. Then he disassembled the rifle right after the shot, left the screwdriver on the roof. I mean, Kash said, we found the screwdriver with his DNA on the roof. Then he jumps down from the roof, reassembles it without a screwdriver, lays it in, a little treed area, and then writes this ridiculous,
Well, they were saying he was carrying the rifle in his pants.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Come on. I mean, absolutely illogical what they're telling us.
Mhm.
And then, as somebody like Candace Owens is digging deeper and asking these questions, you're seeing this whole weird split on the right of all of these ridiculous pundits who would question everything under COVID, question everything when it came to the left. Now they're just, swallowing this load of lies from Kash and this administration that, Tyler Robinson is the lone gunman. He's, happened to be dating a tranny, so he just had that hatred in his heart. He was probably radicalized by Antifa. I mean, it was just all BS that they're swallowing this and defending this ridiculous narrative coming from the feds, and then attacking those who are actually questioning it and saying this doesn't add up. There's a lot of inconsistencies here, and there's a lot of other weird coincidences around this whole thing. Like how many coincidences does it take to create a burden of proof that something's not right?
Yeah. It's mathematically impossible, and I agree with you there. And just recently, I think I saw a post from General Flynn to President Trump saying that he needs basically to fire Pam Bondi and put Sidney Powell in her place, that she would be a better person for that position. And so I'd be curious to see how all this plays out. Going back to what you were saying, though, about President Trump's first term, and in the last year of his first term, you were very disappointed in how everything went, and then how, he implemented the Operation Warp Speed, the shutdown of the government, the 2 weeks to stop the spread that ended up being, it felt like 2 years of
Hmm.
their tyranny. I was with you. I was super disheartened. I felt like, the whole MAGA movement was being punched in the stomach. I totally felt probably what you were feeling at the time. But I will say that what it had done for a lot of people is it woke a lot of the public up, including myself. I mean, I helped lead a recall effort in my county to try to recall our tyrannical governor, Gavin Newsom. And I wouldn't have maybe done that before if our way of life wasn't in jeopardy with shutting down businesses and telling us we couldn't go anywhere to travel. I think that a lot of the public has been asleep, and it's almost as if we had to see how bad it was going to be under the 4-year the Biden administration, and how insane their policies were going to be. Plus, it woke up a ton of the mama bears of around the world of people that were coming after children and school boards, mom and dads were getting involved in their school boards, and they were deemed, public enemies of the FBI and on FBI watch lists. That wouldn't have happened if it was just business as usual and, Trump were to go into the next. Yes, there would have probably, in my opinion, been some wins, but you would still have a big um, neutral population that was still asleep, not getting involved on a local level. And so for me, I felt the same way you did. I just feel that sometimes we have to be shown how bad it is in order for us to wake up. We can't be told how bad it is. They have to literally show, and it has to affect you on a personal level for you to get activated and to want to do something that's bigger than just yourself. Um, and so I'm kind of curious to see what the strategy is now, because I mean I'm a huge Q-tard, and I think that a lot of things are very interesting right now, especially with President Trump posting about Q stuff on his True Social account, and so it's some kind of a psychological operation being had. We're only going to know a small amount of what is really happening, but I do agree with you that the current administration, it seems like they are hamstrung and people are covering up for other people. And I don't like all of these individuals coming through the White House that are tied to Pfizer, that are tied to Palantir, that are trying to hurt the American people and people across the world, crimes against humanity. I feel some of these people have been involved in. So that's what really kind of drew me to your content, was how you've been spending time doing research and connecting dots of how the New World Order, you guess you can say, is trying to capture us through things like digital ID. Is this something that you've been doing research on for a long time, or has it just been recent?
It's the research, the deep research has been recent, but it really started, like for all of us, during that whole shutdown period. I had done another video saying, 5 years ago, we when we were all locked in, we got shown this video, this propaganda programming video from the WEF about Agenda 2030, and by 2030 you will own nothing and you'll be happy. I mean, that's how it starts off. That's the
Yeah.
first thing they say. And showing these happy people, and you'll be able to just rent everything, and you don't have to worry about buying it, and like
Universal basic income.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's all a good thing. And they showed us this propaganda, and I had done, a video recently being like, okay, it's been 5 years. Where are we in that progression? So they always tell us the plan, and a lot of people just kind of, dismiss it like that'll never happen. That's ridiculous. Haha, that's funny. Bill Gates says, in the future, meat will be a luxury. You'll just have to get used to eating, lab-grown
Bugs.
meat, yeah, or bugs or whatever. And they're like, haha, that's funny. That'll never happen. And I sit back and I'm like, wait a minute. When it comes to the richest, most powerful people in the world, when they're saying something and they have the means, the money, and the connections and the companies behind to do what they're saying, listen to them, because that's what they're going to be doing. So, like Bill Gates, when he's saying about meat, well, look at what he's doing. He's buying up all the farmland. He's investing in all the fake meat companies.
He's dimming the sun, people. He's
Exactly.
dimming the sun. We were just talking about
Mr.
what
Burns.
they're spraying stuff over our heads, and they're trying to exactly, Mr. Burns. They show us in The Simpsons, right, Nathan?
Hmm.
So I totally agree. If they tell you, believe them, because now we have the evidence on this thing called the internet that actually shows us evidence of patents and all kinds of ways of tracking things that they're telling us they're not only going to do, but things that they've already done.
Yep. And back then, when you talked about the World Economic Forum, oh, that's conspiracy theory. It's like, no, no, this is an actual organization of some of the top leaders, global leaders in the world, coming together and meeting and talking about the future of global humanity. We don't, we the people don't have a say, but then, the media says, oh, it's all a conspiracy. And then, gradually it's like, oh, well, yeah, it's real, but they don't have that much power. And then it's like, well, yeah, well, they actually influence, and they're the thought leader, on a lot of stuff that the UN then takes to enact. And I started digging into the whole digital ID element of this entire Agenda 2030, because that to me is the global cage that will come around the population. When what prompted me to start talking about it online was when Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, got out to basically launch the UK's digital ID and saying, you will not be able to work in the UK if you don't have digital ID. And that guy's just such a pompous jerk, and he was like, let me spell that out, and that I was like, okay, here it comes. This is what it is. You're going to be forced to do this, just like with the shot. It was a trial run, right? You're not going to be able to serve in the military. You're not going to be able to keep your job. You're not going to be able to, keep going to school if you don't inject this junk in your arm. It's a forced element of compliance. And when you connect all the dots of what their plan is with digital ID, it's connecting everything we do, we say, we access online or in the world. It's not just all digital access. It's going to be in grocery stores. I know right now the U.S. grocery stores aren't as technologically advanced as some of the other first world countries in the world. But soon, what's going to happen is you will have to identify yourself, right? I mean, we're going to get to a point where the looting at certain stores, the shoplifting is going to come to a point where you're going to have to identify yourself before you're allowed in to a place, and that's all going to be through digital ID. I've shared clips of people from the WEF who have said, "Hey, we're working on this technology that will track your carbon footprint." Well, it's out now. I mean, but they have the technology now to say, okay, well, just like what experts will deem your daily allowance of calories would be, they're going to have a daily allowance of carbon, and so that'll be on your food packages. They're starting to do that in the UK, and this is how they're going to start controlling. And again, the media downplays this stuff. It's like, oh, it's not happening yet. This isn't really happening. Well, these are the gradual little steps of boiling a frog in water. The old saying goes. Everyone gets accustomed to it because it's not a shove right away. It's just gentle little pushes that get you to back up from the line in the sand that you used to have, and it gets you just back up, back up, back up,
Yep.
until you're crossing the line that you used to once have.
It's kind of like the tactics they used on trying to get people to take the jab, right? They're like, first they're friendly about it. They're like, hey, let's give you some incentives. Let's throw some cheeseburgers at you or some gift cards, or
Donuts.
they try to bribe people first, but then as people don't comply, they start to get a little bit more tyrannical, a little bit more pushy with how they roll things out. And then they trick people too by like saying, hey, it's like when you sign up for an app and you want to use whatever that app has functionality wise, and you agree to all the terms of service, no one reads any of that. You're just like forfeiting all of these rights, and you click accept, and then you're in. That's what they do. Is I think that they just try to slowly pitch us the idea of convenience, saving time, and they're enslaving us on the back end of whatever that tactic would be.
Absolutely. And this is the goal, is if you want to control the population and keep them in line, keep them compliant, you force this digital ID on them, and now the only way to access your bank account will be through that. And well, you said something online that was considered hateful, so all of a sudden you're locked out of your money in your bank account. If you don't comply with certain healthcare practices, maybe it's a vaccine, well then, you broke your arm. Sorry, we're not going to set it, in an emergency room because you didn't comply with this or that. This is how this digital ID system is going to work. We've been warned about it in dystopian novels like 1984. This is the control grid that's going to come down, and it's part of the larger Agenda 2030.
Let's do this. Let's jump right into some of your recent posts. I think you do a great job of kind of explaining it, and you articulate all these connections. Let me just jump into it real quick. right, let me go back up here to the top. Folks, if you want to find him yourself, check out Instagram and he is Polita Bible. It's like politics connecting with Bible, Politi Bible. And you'll find Nathan's page here. So which one should we show? Is it the Agenda 2030? Would that be a good one?
That one is, yeah, the path to owning nothing. I kind of talk about how we've gone from actually owning physical things to whole subscription models. But I think when it comes to digital ID, that one, why is digital ID important? I break down what digital ID is going to connect. All these different railways that I call it that are being laid right now is this infrastructure. And it's going to connect all these different aspects of our life to one digital ID. Through comments or whatnot, people still didn't seem to get it. So I wanted to break it down because a lot of people will say, well, Google already tracks me, or my smartphone already tracks me, or the government has this information. Yes, certain entities have information. And when I map out, though, in this why is digital ID important, is how all of this information is going to be linked through an AI database, basically, to connect all these rail lines for everything you do wherever you go. Okay, so there's some who still don't understand what digital ID is all going to encompass. I have a whole map out here of everything that digital ID will entail. But before we get there, let me go through the 3 rules of totalitarian control, okay? Because digital ID is leading to totalitarian control, all right? So the first rule is every power that government takes from us, it will never relinquish control voluntarily, ever, okay? Every power that they take from us, they will ultimately abuse to the maximum extent possible. We know this. You know that when you give the government an inch, they take a mile to 5 to 10 miles. The third one, nobody in history has ever complied their way out of totalitarian control. You have to resist. You have to not comply. And now here's a breakdown of everything going on with digital ID, okay? This is why digital ID is important, all right? So I'll just take down this first section right here. So we got digital ID. Everything springs off with digital ID, all right? Your first one is going to be all identity and biometrics, your name, your date of birth, your gender, your social security number, your citizenship, facial recognition and fingerprinting, iris and retina scan, voice print, your gait, how you walk, and your behavioral biometrics, okay? Location and behavior, you will always be tracked. Your GPS location trails, historical and real time, travel history, mobility patterns, browsing history on the web, your app usage, your purchase and transaction behaviors. Are you buying something that isn't allowed? Are you buying a gun? Are you buying ammo? Are you buying too much meat? This can be controlled. Your health and medical records, right? Your electronic health records, your immunization and vaccine records, your prescriptions, lab results, health credentials, your immunity certificates, government and civil records, your driver's license, birth certificate, passport, voter registration, immigration and visa status, court records, criminal records. Everything will be tied to your digital ID. Access and permissions, building access, whether you can get in and out of a building with a digital ID, right? Even a grocery store. Some of the biggest grocery stores are owned by the largest corporations, and they will comply with this. Age, gating restrictions, eligibility for services, employment access. Remember Keir Starmer, you will not be able to work or have a job unless you have digital ID, employment access. All of your online accounts, your usernames, passwords, keys, your emails, your single sign-on tokens, your phone numbers, your multi-factor authentications, your financial and economic records, your bank accounts, your payment methods, your tax records, benefits and subsidy eligibility, digital wallets, blockchain anchors, your loans, your credit score, your transaction history, educational and professional, your diplomas, transcripts, your professional licenses, your certifications, your employment history, your background check, your LLCs, your contracts, your e-signatures, and your notarizations. Down here, it gets even more important, just like China, your social credit, all right, your risk scores, your trust and reputation metrics, your aggregated profiles built by analytics, your peer-to-peer rating system, and your corporation and business rating system on you. So corporations and businesses will be able to rate you. So will your own peers be able to rate you. Social credit, just like Yelp, you'll be the product. You'll have your 5-star review of who you are. Okay, so there's some who still don't understand what digital ID is.
Wow, that is so eye-opening. That's so eye-opening. So are these things that you would just kind of map out over time, and then you're like, you know what? I'm just going to put it in a video. Like what really kind of, is this something that you did like the night before? Like how do you get all this great research done?
I take a couple hours. I have a flexible work from home position, And it gives me opportunity where I can take 3 to 4 hours to do a deep dive on different subjects, and then think of a way to map it out on a whiteboard and do it that way. So on this, I just wanted to look up like what are all the elements going to be about this digital ID, because we hear that word and we just, like a lot of things, there's words and then there's the meanings behind the words, and we can think that it has a certain meaning when in reality it has a completely different one. And this is the case with digital ID. A lot of people think, okay, well, it's it's going to be just a picture of my license on my phone, or my passport on my phone. That's a digital ID, and it's like,
Or online banking, like we're already doing it. Yeah.
right. And so many people think, oh, we're already doing this. This is already there. It's like, not really, no, because you can, okay, you go to a grocery store, right? And you pay for your groceries with a debit card. There's not, the connections aren't there in place to record every single item you purchased and have it recorded under you forever in a database. Those are the kind of things where we're going to, where again, a lot of these elements are out there. There's a surveillance system out there, right? There's things that we do on our phones or our computers, using maybe our fingerprint to sign in on a computer or on a phone. Again, that information is held with like a corporation, or your driver's license identity that's held with a government organization. What's happening now, and I have to do a lot of these videos to kind of show how all these are connecting. So I did a one that was called like the path to digital ID. These things always start, decades in the past. And then there's incremental steps to build it up as the technology progresses, and as the citizenry gets used to these things. So with all these different elements of digital ID, what's going to happen is these public-private partnerships, which we're seeing. So public being your governmental organizations, partnering with private corporations. Let's say, hey, the government and Palantir. JD Vance, who's a great buddy of Peter Thiel's, Palantir just happened to have a government contract and swooped on in after Doge left, and they started extracting the government information on the citizens. And they're building this into a database that's going to be then controlled and linked by AI. And so you're going to see more of these public-private partnerships that will then bridge all the information, your Meta, your Google, all the information that they have on you, combined with all the information that the government has on you, into one large centralized AI database that will have all that you are, all that you've done, all that you will do connected to you through this digital ID. That's what that is.
That's so wild. That's so wild. I'm going to showcase another video. I think you had just said that you made a video that kind of breaks this down for us. Would it be, let's see here, maybe like this one here?
Well, I did Path to Digital ID to kind of explain how we got to where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
I've done, who is behind the digital ID. I've also done, a lot of people say, hey, it's the mark of the beast. And so I did is it the mark of the beast? And I kind of break that down as well from the biblical standpoint.
I'm actually curious. Let's watch that one. I'm really curious to watch this one. I think a lot of my viewers would also appreciate this one as well. Let's see.
Is digital ID the mark of the beast? This is a comment and discussion that I've seen come up a lot in the videos that I've been doing. And so let's go through it and take a look. The mark of the beast comes out of Revelation, the book of Revelation in the Bible, chapter 13, verses 16 and 17. And it's talking about the Antichrist here, the beast. And he, the beast, causes all, the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. And he provides that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number number of his name. And of course, we all know that number, which is 666. So look, I'm not an eschatology expert. I'm not going to pretend to be. Anytime you dive into end times theology, especially in the Christian sphere, you're going to find dozens upon dozens of different opinions and arguments, whether everything took place already, whether some of it took place and some still has to come, or all of it still has to come, or it's all literary metaphor. I'm not going to get into it. We're just going to go right from the word, what it says, what digital ID is, and what's happening. The key here, the point that the Apostle John is making, is that the mark of the beast is idolatrous loyalty or worship of the Antichrist, the beast system. Let's look at the Greek, right? So the English word is mark. The Greek word is charagma. I'm probably butchering that. Charagma means stamp, impression, mark, or seal. We see this on the old Roman coins where Caesar put his image on it. Remember, Jesus held up the Roman coin and said, whose image is on here? The people answered, Caesar. So he said, give to Caesar what is Caesar, give to God what is God's. So this mark, the charagma, was commonly used for imprints on documents or coins to designate who it came from or who it belonged to. So that's what the mark is. You are accepting a mark on yourself, according to Revelation, that would identify you with the Antichrist or the beast system. Basically, this lines out a biblical warning about the mark. It's deeply rooted in the realities of economic control and allegiance to the ruling powers. That's what the mark of the beast seems to point to in Revelation. Now, digital ID, I think, is the infrastructure for complete surveillance and total control over the world population. They aren't shy about explaining their agenda, the Agenda 2030, the digital ID, putting all of these railways together that connects everything you do, say, who you are into one digital ID so that they can control your access to things. What do I mean by that? They want total surveillance over you. They want to know where you're going and when, to map out your daily habits. They want to know what you buy, how much you buy, how often you buy it. They want to track what you say and do online, so that's all recorded. They want to know who you associate with. They want to know your social credit, like your social credit score, et cetera, et cetera. It's full-on surveillance of everything you are. The next part is they want to be able to control your access to buy and sell. They want to be able to control your access to healthcare. They want to be able to control your access to work. Remember Keir Starmer?
You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
They want to control your access to bank accounts. If you do or say something they don't like, that the regime in power doesn't like, they can shut you down from your bank account access. And of course, they want to control your access overall to the marketplace, the economy, the financial systems, et cetera, et cetera. When it comes down to digital ID, they are looking for full control and surveillance of you, and buying and selling is one of those. So is digital ID right now the mark of the beast? I would say no, not quite, but it is laying the groundwork that in the future, this infrastructure can definitely be used by a coming Antichrist figure. It would come and use this digital ID system to implement the mark of the beast. It's completely possible. I think digital ID will condition people to accept digital compliance in order to access the marketplace, public services, financial system, things like that. I want to personally avoid taking on a digital ID or getting accustomed to that, because I do think it is a precursor to the mark of the beast. If you put your passport info as a digital identification credential on your iPhone right now, is that the mark of the beast? No. In the UK, if you signed up for a digital ID because you had to work, is that necessarily the mark of the beast right now? No. Because again, the mark of the beast requires some kind of heart allegiance, some kind of idolatrous worship of an Antichrist figure or of a beast worldly system. I don't think we're there yet, but the groundwork is laid. The infrastructure is here that it could be coming in the near future.
Wow. It almost seems like also going back to the COVID years, they were testing us kind of like to see how we would operate with like cashless. You notice everything, all the stores, nobody wanted to accept cash or coins, for health and safety reasons or whatever. And people just complied because they thought, well, I already have a debit card, or I could just Zelle or Apple Pay this transaction. So yeah, I think that, I think you're spot on with your analysis on what the mark of the beast could end up being. And we're starting to kind of fall right into that trap.
Yes. And one of the, I think that the theme or just the air about the education I'm presenting, I don't want to be fear mongering. I don't want to make, things up and be like, oh, the sky is falling, that kind of thing. And that's why I wanted to take a measured approach when it came to the mark of the beast. Yes, I do think this absolutely has high probability of being the infrastructure that the mark could come through. Absolutely. If it's a worldwide, digital ID system as per the UN Agenda 2030, their Sustainable Development Goal 16.9, that's their goal, and they have a lot of different entities moving towards this in unison around the world. So I absolutely think that the mark will come out of it, but I don't think it is there yet. And so I just want to tell people as well that if they got some kind of form of digital ID, you're not doomed to hell. That we're just not there yet. I think it's going to be more obvious than where we're at right now, and there's still a lot of work to be laid for all the railways to be connected.
So, do you feel that what we're seeing now with President Trump having some of these players coming in after the Doge operation had happened, is this something that we have to be much more alert and aware about, so that way we know kind of coming into future elections and future things that we can't be so sold out to the Trump train or to, I mean, he's gotten us pretty far. We got to give him credit where credit is due, but we also don't want to fall for anything that could be easily set up for us to be sold out to some kind of a system like this.
And I think this is where we can get distracted, is with the politics of it, because in a very 30,000 foot view, if we just look from the first Trump administration to Biden to the second Trump administration, what did we find? We find the technocrats. We find your billionaire tech bros. Who did they get behind? Well, they got behind Biden, right? During that whole switchover, they got behind Biden by shutting down things on Twitter, right? They shut down accounts. They silenced. They did shadow banning, and Elon came in and exposed a lot of those backdoor channel conversations between these tech corps and the government, and the tech corps complying with the government's wishes, and that it was on Biden. And so you see the technocrats supporting the Biden administration to a point, and then I think what they do, these tech bros, they kind of find out where the political wind is blowing, and look, if there was a bigger chance for somebody like Kamala to get in, they would have gotten right behind her and put in hundreds of millions of their own dollars into her campaign. But instead, they did that with Trump. Again, they don't think Trump's platform of what it used to be, make America great or America first, they didn't care about that crap. They cared about who can they control with their money, period, end of story. And they partnered up with Trump. We have this whole show where Elon and Trump are bros, and hey, Elon's one of us. He smoked a joint on Joe Rogan. He's down to earth. You can talk with him on X now, and so cool. Well, these guys are billionaires. They have no idea how somebody like you and me live. They could not care less, and their whole mission is aligned with this globalist mission of a technocratic society. It is connecting everything in a digital. We call it a new world order, but really it's a digital world order, and it's background controlled by a lot of these tech bros, whether it's Larry Ellison, Peter Thiel, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, you name it. They're the Sam Altman. They're the ones behind
Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg.
Exactly. Yep, all of these people. And look at how they swung all of a sudden to support Trump, and how many of them were at his inauguration.
I was going to say they were sitting on the side with all of his family, intermixed within his family at the inauguration.
Yep, but if the political winds were more towards Kamala, I mean, again, the Biden thing was a mess. He definitely had dementia. His brain wasn't there. Kamala can barely string a intelligent sentence together in an interview. So all they did was just throw their support behind the other candidate to get what they wanted, and they did, because now JD Vance opens the door into the government systems for Peter Thiel and Palantir's system to, scoop up our data. They He's working with Larry Fink. Larry Fink's in Trump's inner circle. He is the CEO of BlackRock, but he's also a board member on the WEF. He's also a crypto guy who, years ago had said Bitcoin was just for cartels and drug runners and criminals and things like
Criminals.
that
Hmm.
in order to, bring Bitcoin price down. So what? So that BlackRock, could buy it up. And now all of a sudden they're fully behind Bitcoin and the whole crypto thing. So it's all a game being played, and we're the pawns that are just being our heads are being turned by these people, by what they decide to bring up as entertainment value in the news.
Yeah, it feels at times we're just watching a really horrible movie being played out, and I don't know. There's something to the whole phrase when President Trump calls people central casting. It's like I hope these people are playing a part. I really like, we have to know and believe that God is always going to be in control. But if this is some kind of a weird movie being played out, like, okay, I'm done with the movie now. I want to get up and leave this theater and go back to reality. But I really do appreciate people like you doing the homework, doing the research to really articulate and explain what's happening because I mean, like you said, we're average people, we're raising families and going to church and going to our jobs and just trying to survive in a really challenging economy right now. People aren't paying attention off to the sides of their purview of what is being implemented into our day-to-day society. So, Nathan, I really appreciate you doing all that hard work, and I'd love to get you back on the show again sometime soon. Are you still going to be doing more research towards digital ID, or is there something else that's starting to catch your attention?
Yes, I think I'll do a little bit more on digital ID. I'll connect some of the other elements that we're also passionate about as a family. We are, you know, we hold the term proudly. We are anti-vaxxers. We will never get another vaccine. Both my son and my wife were injured by them pretty severely, and I don't see any vaccine that's worth getting based on what you're trying to protect yourself against. And the studies are out there as well for those who have been vaxxed versus those who haven't. The numbers of health conditions and whatnot is just skyrocketed amongst the vaxxed, fully vaxxed community. So that's another passionate one for me, as well as what I'm seeing for some of these other revelation talking points. You got the whole cashless society. I kind of talk about the central banking digital currencies when I'm talking about digital ID, but that'll soon come into play when you have a one world currency that's digital that can be programmed. So being programmed means they can control it. They can give you access or deny your access to the currency, as well as a lot of the false god stuff and the one world religion elements that are coming down the pike. We see this now a lot with the Catholic Church opening up a prayer room for Muslims, and I think about that. I'm like, would Moses have done that in the tabernacle for the Canaanites? Hey, have this section of the tabernacle where you can worship Dagon or Baal or whatever. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and the Catholics are defending this thing as they're just trying to be peaceful. But no, again, these are incremental steps that we'll see in a uniting of some kind of one world Abrahamic religion. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are the kind of topics I'd like to cover in the future.
I can't wait to bring you back on my show because I could see you being like a regular guest, like bringing us more information that you're digging up while everybody's busy just leading their lives. It just seems like God's given you this great gift of being a great teacher and explainer of knowledge. And yeah, anything that you want to, bring on to the show, I'd love to have you back, Nathan. And for anybody out there listening to this podcast, if you're just listening on like Spotify and you're not seeing the visuals, I encourage you to jump onto Rumble or YouTube to watch this and you can see his visuals. Follow him on his Instagram at Polita Bible, and you'll get all kinds of great content that he's starting to put out. I hope that you end up going further in this quest of revelations of truth and information, like, maybe starting your own podcast someday. Whatever God leads you to, man, I'll be here for that ride.
Thanks, Matthew. I'm really grateful for you having me on.
Yeah, Nathan, I'll be in touch with you, and we'll bring you back onto the Ultra MK podcast, where together we are reversing the narrative.